Good evening.
So, guten Abend.
Let us begin with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet anfangen.
Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
Lord, we thank you that we can open your word again.
ja, wir danken dir, dass wir wieder dein Wort aufschlagen können.
These very sacred pages that will give us life.
Diese sehr heilige Blätter, die uns Leben geben würden.
And we ask you to please unfold the scriptures to us.
Und wir bitten, dass du uns die Schriften jetzt entfalten würdest.
And that we would understand these stories line upon line.
Und dass wir diese Geschichten Linie auf Linie verstehen werden.
And see exactly what you want to show us.
Und dass wir das sehen werden, genau was du uns zeigen möchtest.
And please open these deep and hidden things unto our understanding.
Und bitte öffne diese tiefe, verborgenen Sachen zu unserem Verstand.
That we can also have nail in the sure place.
Dass wir auch einen Nagel in der sicheren Stelle haben können.
And Father, we thank you now for your presence.
Vater, wir danken dir jetzt für deine Gegenwart
And for the promise to guide us into all truth.
und für deine Verheißung, uns in alle Wahrheit zu führen.
And we ask and pray in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten und beten in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so as usual, the notes are in the live stream.
So, wie üblich, Notizen gibt es in der Livestream-Gruppe.
And tonight we want to look at this place called Schechem.
Und heute Abend wollen wir diesen Ort, die heißt Schechem, anschauen.
And we want to see what different stories took place in this very place.
Und wir wollen schauen, welche verschiedene Geschichten hier zu diesem Ortschaft stattfanden.
Okay, so let us first begin here in Joshua chapter 8,
So, fangen wir hier an in Josua Kapitel 8,
beginning in verse 30 to 35.
die Verse 30 bis 35.
And this speaks here about Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal.
Das hier spricht über die Berge Gerizim und Ebal.
It says, Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord God of Israel in Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stones which no man hath lift up any iron. And they offered their own burnt offerings unto the Lord and sacrificed peace offerings. And he wrote there upon the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. And all Israel and all Israel and the elders and officers and the judges stood on this side the ark, and on that side before the priests the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well as the stranger, as he that was born among them, half of them over against Mount Gerizim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. Okay, so this is basically now once they entered the land, yes?
So, hier ist es, nachdem sie in das Land hineingingen.
And now they were to, this is what will also tell us, they were to renew the covenant.
Und Ellen White wird uns gleich sagen, sie sollten dann das Bündnis erneuern.
And they were to pronounce the blessings and the curses here, right?
Und sie sollen hier den Segen und auch die Flüchen verkünden.
Okay, so Ebal was the curses and Gerizim were the blessings.
Ebal war die Flüche, Gerizim den Segen.
Now let's continue, verse 34.
Vers 34.
And afterward he read all the words of the law, the blessings and cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses commanded, which Joshua read not before all the congregation of Israel, with the women and the little ones and the strangers that were conversant among them. Okay, so now let us read this next quote by Sister White.
So lesen wir jetzt diesen nächsten Zitat von Ellen White.
And she tells us where this took place and then what happened also
Sie
there.
sagt uns, wo das stattfand und auch was da denn stattfand.
Okay, it says here, before taking possession of their inheritance, they must renew their covenant of loyalty to God. In the last instructions of Moses, direction had been twice given for a convocation of the tribes upon Mounts Ebal and Gerizim, at Schechem for the solemn recognition of the law of God. Okay, so where were Ebal and Gerizim located?
So, wo waren Ebal und Gerizim zu finden?
In Schechem. Okay.
Schechem.
It says, in obedience to these injunctions, the whole people, not only men, but the women and the little ones and the strangers that were conversant among them, left their camp at Gilgal and marched through the country of their enemies to the vale of Schechem, near the center of the land. Though surrounded by unconquered foes, they were safe under the protection of God as long as they were faithful to Him. Now, as in the days of Jacob, the terror of God was upon the cities that were round about them, and the Hebrews were unmolested. So in the next paragraph, she brings now different stories, line upon line, to what happened at Schechem.
So, in den nächsten Absatz, sie bringt verschiedene Geschichten, Linie auf Linie, zu das, was zu Schechem stattfand.
So, first so, let me just make a small list here, okay?
Zuerst machen wir hier eine Liste.
So, jetzt Gerizim and Ebal here, right?
So, zuerst gab es Gerizim und Ebal.
So the blessings and the curses.
Segen und Flüche.
And now she says here,
Jetzt sagt sie aber,
the place appointed for this solemn service was one already sacred from its association with the history of their fathers. It was here that Abram raised his first altar to Jehovah in the land of Canaan. So what was there also
so was gab es da auch
in times past?
in vergangenen Zeiten? Die Altar.
Yeah, first altar, right?
Der erste Altar.
So Abram's altar.
Abrahams Altar.
Okay, let's continue.
Lesen wir weiter.
Here both Abraham and Jacob had pitched their tents. So what else did take place there?
So was fand da auch statt?
Yeah, Abraham and Jacob pitched their tents.
Abraham und Jakob bauten ihre Zelten auf.
Okay. Actually, when you make it like this, then it should be like this. Okay. And then here the latter bought the field in which the tribes were to bury the body of Joseph. So what did Jacob do there also?
So was tat Jakob da auch?
Yeah. Okay, so Jacob and what happened in this field?
Jakob kaufte den Feld und was fand statt in diesem Feld?
Gold and that they took out the ears.
No, it says here to bury the body of Joseph. Okay.
Es sagt hier, um den Leib Josefs
Okay.
zu begraben.
But they also buried these things there.
Bury. And then it says here, last sentence.
Im letzten Satz sagt,
Here also was the well that Jacob had dug, and the oak under which he had buried the idolatrous images of his household. So two things she mentions here.
so zwei Sachen erwähnt sie hier.
What happened there? Yeah, Jacob's well.
Jakobs Brunnen ist gebaut worden.
And this oak where burying idols, right?
So diese Eiche, unter welcher die Götzen begraben waren.
Okay, good. So all these are stories, right, that are all linked here to Schechem.
So, all dies sind Geschichten, die verbunden sind mit Schechem.
What I want to suggest is that they all illustrate the same thing, okay?
Was ich vorschlagen möchte, ist, dass sie alle dasselbe Sache darstellen.
Meaning they all place to the same event at
Was
the
ich
end of
damit
the world.
meine, ist, dass die alle an denselben Ereignis zu markieren sind.
And they just, yeah, you need to bring them line upon line and put them at the end of the world,
Wir
okay?
müssen sie Linie auf Linie zusammenbringen und am Ende der Welt markieren.
Okay, so let's just look at this.
Und lass uns das anschauen.
Let's go to Deuteronomy 11, verse 29 to 30.
Gehen wir zu 5. Mose 11, Verse 29 und 30.
It says, And it shall come to pass, when the Lord thy God hath brought thee in unto the land whither thou goest to possess it, that thou shalt put the blessing upon Mount Gerizim and the curse upon Mount Ebal. And they are they not on the other side Jordan, by the way where the sun goeth down, in the land of the Canaanites, which dwell in the campaign over against Gilgal, besides the plains of Moreh? So, where were they located, these mountains?
So, wo waren diese Berge zu finden?
In front of the Canaanites,
Yeah.
against the Gilgal
Yes,
side.
the plains of Moreh, right?
So, in diesen Ebenen von Moreh.
Okay, and we'll see, because we read, it was where Abraham then erected his first altar, right?
Wir werden sehen, denn es hat gesagt, es ist da, wo Abraham seinen ersten Altar aufrichtete.
Okay, so let's go now to Genesis 12 to see.
So gehen wir zu 1. Mose 12, um zu sehen.
Verse 1.
Vers 1.
It says, Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and I will make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So what does this here signify?
Vers 4, was stellt,
Yeah, coming out of Babylon, right?
stellt das Herauskommen aus Babylon dar.
So this now, he comes out of Babylon, and he goes now, as we will see, to Schechem. Okay.
Hier kommt er aus Babylon und er wird gehen, so wie wir sehen werden, nach Schechem.
Okay. And when they here came to Mount Gerizim, what does this signify?
Und als sie hier zum Berg Gerizim ankamen, was stellte das dar?
That was basically entering into the land, right?
Das war das Hineinkommen in das Land.
So you have leaving Babylon and entering now the promised land. Okay.
Du hast das Verlassen von Babylon und das Hineinkommen in das verheißene Land.
And this is exactly what Abram signified here. He left now Babylon and he went to Schechem.
Und das ist genau das, was Abraham zeigte hier. Er verließ Babylon und ging nach Schechem.
Let's read verse 5 to 7.
Die Versen 5 bis 7 jetzt.
And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan. And into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Schechem, which is just another word for Shechem. Okay.
Also Schechem ist gleich Schechem.
And unto the plain of Moreh. And what did we read earlier?
Das haben wir vorhin gelesen.
There were Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, right?
Da war Gerizim und Ebal, die Berge.
Okay. So he comes here to Schechem, which is where these two mountains are.
So, er kam zu Schechem, wo diesen zwei Bergen zu finden sind.
And the Canaanite was then in the land, and and the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land, and there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. So this was this first altar that he erected in the promised land.
Das war diesen ersten Altar, den er im verheißenen Land aufgerichtet hat.
Okay, so that would be this story. Okay,
Das wäre diese Geschichte.
now let's continue. Let's go to next heading, Jacob in Schechem.
Jetzt machen wir weiter, gehen wir zur nächsten Geschichte, also der Übertitel Jakob in Schechem.
Because we saw Jacob and Abraham, they both pitched their tents. We saw here how Abraham pitched his tent there, right?
So, wir haben gesehen, wie Abraham und Jakob ihre Zelte da aufrichteten und Abraham sein Zelt da aufrichtete.
And now we will see how Jacob pitched his tents there also and buys this field.
Wir
Okay?
sehen, wie Jakob sein Zelt da aufrichtet und diesen Feld kauft.
So let's go to Genesis 33,
1. Mose 33,
verse 16 to 20.
die Verse 16 bis 20.
So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir. So that's after he made peace with Esau again, okay?
So, hier ist es nachdem, dass Jakob Friede mit Esau gemacht hat.
So what is this story an illustration of?
Was stellt diese Geschichte dar?
I mean, when did Esau come against Jacob?
So, wann kam Esau gegen Jakob an?
Yes,
Zu
okay.
diesem finalen Test.
But where was he from? Where did he go to arrive where?
Aber von wo kam er und wo ging er hin?
Jacob.
Jacob.
Jakob.
Jacob was coming into the promised land.
Yes,
So, Jakob war auf seinem Weg ins verheißene Land.
if I remember correctly, he also came in Haran, like Abraham, and he then went also back to the promised land.
Wenn
Okay.
ich mich recht erinnere, so wie Abraham, er ging von Haran dann ins verheißene Land ein.
Let's just shortly confirm this. Let's go to in your Bibles to Genesis
So, bestätigen wir das, gehen wir in unseren Bibeln zum 1. Mose.
and chapter 27, I think.
Und Kapitel 27 meine ich.
Yes. That's now Rebecca speaking to Jacob, telling him to flee to Haran. Okay.
Das ist Rebekka, sie spricht zu Jakob und sagt ihm, dass er nach Haran flüchten soll.
Verse 43.
Vers 43.
Says, Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, to Haran. Okay, so it's just the same story. Like Abraham came out of Haran to go to Schechem, likewise did Jacob. Okay,
Das ist derselbe Geschichte, so wie Abraham aus Haran kam, um nach Schechem zu gehen, so auch jetzt Jakob.
so because let's go now here back to Genesis 33 in the notes.
Dann gehen wir zu den Notizen zurück, 1. Mose 33,
And let's go to verse 17.
Vers 17.
It says, And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him a house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Schechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padanaram and pitched his tent before the city. So this is where he now pitched his tent. Okay.
Hier ist es, wo er sein Zelt aufrichtet.
And he bought a parcel of a field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar and called it Elelohe Israel. So here this is where he now bought this field. Okay.
So, hier ist es, wo er diesen Feld gekauft hat.
And from whom did he buy it?
Und von wem kaufte er es?
What does it say?
Was sagt es?
Yeah, Shechem's father Hamor. Yeah?
Shechems Vater Hamor.
Okay, just keep this in mind. Okay.
Und halte das im Gedanken.
Okay. So we can see here these illustrations. Yeah, they come out of Babylon and they go to Shechem. Yes.
Wir können in diese Darstellung, wie sie aus Babylon herauskommen und zu Schechem gehen.
Yeah, and they basically, he buys a possession here in the promised land. Okay.
Und er kauft einen Besitz hier in dem verheißenen Land.
Abraham, he made his altar there in the promised land. Okay.
Abraham hat sein Altar da im verheißenen Land aufgeschlagen.
And they entered into covenant with God here in the promised land with the blessings and the
Sie
curses. Okay.
sind in Bündnis mit dem Herrn hier in der verheißenen Land eingegangen, da bei der Segen und Flüche.
Okay, it just shows you that when you come out of Babylon and enter into the land, this is what the Lord will do. Or what,
Zeigt uns, dass wenn wir aus Babylon herauskommen und ins Land hineinkommen, dass das ist es, was der Herr tun wird.
or rather what you do. Okay.
Oder besser, was du tun wirst.
Okay, we come to the deeper meaning later.
Und
Okay.
wir werden später zu einer tieferen Erklärung von dieser Bedeutung.
So let's go now to Genesis 35,
Gehen wir jetzt zu 1. Mose 35,
beginning in verse 1.
fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, And God said unto Jacob, Arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God that appeared unto thee when thou fleddest from the face of Esau thy brother. So what is God commanding Jacob here to do?
Was befiehlt der Herr, was Jakob tun soll?
Go to Bethel.
Go back to Bethel, the same place where he was when he fled from Esau, right?
So geht nach Bethel, also derselbe Ort, wo war, als von Esau geflüchtet hat.
And what happened at Bethel?
Und was geschah zu Bethel?
Yeah, he had this dream with a ladder, right?
Er hat diesen Traum, also mit den Leitern.
Okay, so it's basically he brings him back to the same location. Okay.
Er bringt ihn zum selben Ort zurück.
So prophetically, he brings him back to the same waymark.
Prophetisch bringt er ihn zum selben Wegmarke zurück.
So, verse 2.
Vers 2.
Then Jacob said unto his household and to all that were with him, Put away the strange gods that are among you, and be clean and change your garments. Now, so what were they to do?
So was sollten sie tun?
Change that again.
Yeah, change the garments and put away all the idols, right?
Wechsel ihre Gewänder und tu die ganzen Götzen weg.
All the false doctrines.
Und
Okay.
diese falsche Lehren.
So, verse 3.
Vers 3.
And let us rise and go up to Bethel, and I will make thee an altar unto God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and was with me in the way which I went. And they gave unto Jacob all the strange gods which were in their hand, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Jacob hid them under the oak which was by Schechem. Okay, so here we see this story, right?
So hier können wir diese Geschichte sehen.
Here, oak burying the idols.
So
Okay.
hier haben sie ihre Götzen bei dieser Eiche begraben.
Okay, so and then they went here to Bethel, and he made this altar there.
Dann
Okay.
gingen sie zu Bethel und er hat diesen Altar da aufgerichtet.
Okay, so it just shows you that when you come back to the same place, this is where you will put away all these idols. Okay,
Das zeigt uns, dass wenn du zu diesem selben Ort zurückkommst, das ist, wo du all diese Götzen wegtun wirst.
okay. Now let's go to the next story,
Gehen wir zur nächsten Geschichte.
because we also read that it was at Schechem that Jacob's well was dug, right?
Wir haben auch gelesen, es war zu Schechem, wo Jakobs Brunnen begraben wurde.
So, and that's obviously the story of Christ,
Das ist natürlich die Geschichte von Christus.
when he met with a Samaritan woman.
Da, wo er mit dieser samaritische Frau getroffen hat.
So let's read this here,
Lass uns das lesen.
John 4, verse 1 to 7.
Johannes 4, die Versen 1 bis 7.
It says, When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. So, which is this parcel of ground?
So, was ist diesen Grundstück?
The next verse tells you Jacob's well was there.
Yes. Okay. Because it says here, Jacob bought a field to bury Joseph's body in there,
Es
right?
sagt hier, Jakob hat ein Feld gekauft, um den Leib von Josef da zu begraben.
This is what it refers to here in verse 5.
Und das ist, wozu es hier in Vers 5 bezieht.
And it says then, now Jacob's well was there. So, this is what Sister White also said.
Das ist, was Ellen White auch sagt, der Brunnen war auch da.
So therefore Jesus was at Schechem here. Okay.
Deswegen Jesus war zu Schechem.
Jesus therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. Okay, so, and therefore, where would we mark this story here on the line?
Deswegen, wo würden wir diese Geschichte hier auf der Linie markieren?
Where he speaks now to the Samaritan woman.
Er spricht für diesen samaritischen Frau.
Yeah, here, right?
Also hier in der 7. Plage.
Because he wants now to join the sticks, right?
Er möchte diesen 2 Stücke zusammen machen,
Okay.
oder eins machen.
So in this sense, therefore I want to suggest that the other stories that we looked at here,
Deswegen möchte ich vorschlagen, dass diese anderen Geschichten, die wir hier angeschaut
they
haben,
also would mark this illustration here, okay?
werden sie auch diese Darstellungen hier markieren.
And we'll see that because Gerizim and Ebal were the blessings and the curses, right?
Wir werden sehen, Gerizim und Ebal waren Segen und Flüchen.
Because there are these two classes here manifested, right? The first sickle goes in.
Diese 2 Klassen, die hier manifestiert sind, wo die erste Sichel eingeworfen wird.
Abraham makes his first altar to God. Okay?
Abraham baut seinen ersten Altar zu Gott auf.
And they pitched their tents there.
Sie stellten ihrem Zelten auf.
Abraham's altar would be Elijah's altar,
On
Carmel.
Carmel.
It's the same time.
Yeah.
It's been built.
Abrahams Altar wäre gleich Elias Altar auf Berg Karmel. Das ist zu derselbe Punkt.
So, and what I want to say basically is that here, and we'll see this as I think, this is like a earnest here, like a down payment, okay?
Und was wir sehen werden, und das werden wir gleich sehen, das was ich denke, ist, das hier ist wie eine Anzahlung.
Because we know that this is the first group, the 2.5 tribes, right?
Wir wissen, dass das hier die erste Gruppe ist, also diese 2,5 Stämme.
But they don't get their possession unless they also join, right?
Aber sie erhalten ihre Erbteil nicht völlig, bis die anderen sie sich angeschlossen haben.
So, for instance, Jacob buying this field here is was like a down payment of the glorious land because he bought like a small piece of the promised land. Okay.
So Jakob, der diesen Feld hier gekauft habe, war wie eine Anzahlung auf der verheißene Land. Es war wie ein kleines Stück Grundstück.
Okay, and Jesus is also now here, and he can give the living water now to the Samaritans, right?
Jesus ist auch hier und er kann die lebendigen Wasser den Samaritern geben.
Which is now in order to join the 10 tribes, okay?
Die 10 Stämmen reinzubringen.
Because the Samaritans, who were the Samaritans?
Und wer waren die Samariter?
Were the 10 tribes, right?
Die 10 Stämme.
Okay, so she represents the 10 tribes now being joined unto Christ, right?
Stellt die 10 Stämmen dar, die jetzt Christus angebunden wird.
Okay, so let's just continue. Let's go to the next heading.
Gehen wir zur nächsten Überschrift.
Joseph's tomb at Schechem.
Josefs Grab zu Schechem.
Because we read, right, that he is buried here in this field that Jacob bought, right?
Wir haben gelesen, dass er hier in diesem Feld, die Jakob gekauft hat, begraben.
Let's read here in Genesis 50, verse 24 to 26. Sorry.
1. Mose 50, die Verse 24 bis 26.
So it says, and Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you, and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So, what did Joseph say here?
Also was sagt Josef hier?
You come out of Egypt after your bondage, you've got to take me with you.
Exactly. Okay.
Also, wenn ihr aus Ägypten herauskommt nach eurer Knechtschaft, ihr müsst mich mit euch nehmen.
So we saw 2 illustrations already coming out of Babylon. Yes?
Wir haben 2 Darstellungen bereits gesehen, wie man aus Babylon herauskommt.
So Abraham and Jacob. Right?
Abraham und Jakob
They
beide.
both went to Schechem.
Und beide gingen nach Schechem.
This is also the same. When they come out of Egypt,
Yes.
it's coming out of Babylon.
Exactly.
Und das hier ist dasselbe. Wenn sie aus Ägypten rauskommen, das ist gleich aus Babylon
They go
herauskommen.
to the same place because they bury his body there.
Yes, exactly.
Sie gehen zum selben Ort, weil sie ihn eben da begraben.
Yes, because Sister White says, the coming out of Egypt is the coming out of Babylon.
Und
Right?
er sagt, das Herauskommen aus Ägypten ist gleich das Herauskommen aus Babylon.
Okay. Because, for instance, here, when they went to Gerizim and Ebal, they came out of Egypt.
Zum
Right?
Beispiel hier, wenn sie nach Gerizim und Ebal kamen, sie kamen aus Ägypten heraus.
Okay. So, and it's also interesting, to know what the name Schechem means.
Und es ist auch interessant zu wissen, was die Bedeutung des Namens Schechem ist.
The root meaning of it is neck.
Also das Urbedeutung, also das Wurzelbedeutung davon ist eben Nacken.
And the Strong says neck is where you put burdens on. Okay?
Und das Konkordanz sagt, dass der Nacken ist da, wo du schwere Lasten legst.
Okay, so
The wooden.
exactly. When you come to Schechem, it's now where you change the master. Okay.
So, wenn du zu Schechem kommst, das ist da, wo du deinen Meister wechselst.
Because we saw they entered into covenant here at Gerizim and Ebal,
Wir
right?
haben gesehen, dass sie da bei Gerizim und Ebal ins Bündnis mit dem Herrn tragen.
So now he places his wooden yoke on you.
So,
Okay.
jetzt legt er sein holzner Joch auf dich.
Which is it's easy yoke. Easy yoke and light burden. Okay.
Das ist diese einfaches Joch und leichte Bürde.
Okay. So now let's go back here to the story of Joseph, because there's something nice to see.
So,
Okay.
gehen wir zurück zu der Geschichte von Josef, da gibt es noch was Schönes zu sehen.
Let's go to Acts chapter 7.
Gehen wir zur Apostelgeschichte 7.
And this is again something what you cannot understand with human wisdom. Okay.
Das ist wiederum eine Sache, die du mit menschlichen Weisheit nicht begreifen kannst.
So all these theologians, they try to somehow wrest what it says here in order to make sense of what it says. Okay.
So, all diese Theologen, sie versuchen das hier zu zerreißen, zerzerren, irgendwie, dass sie da irgendwie einen Sinn daraus zerquetschen können.
But they don't understand line upon line.
Sie
Okay.
verstehen aber Linie auf Linie nicht.
So let's read verse 14 to 16.
So, lass uns die Verse 14 bis 16 lesen.
It says, Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred 15 souls. So this is when what's his name stood before the Sanhedrin. Stephen. Yes. Okay. So when Stephen stood before the Sanhedrin and he gave this rundown of the history. Okay.
Hier ist es, wo Stephanus vor den Sanhedrin gestanden hat und hat diese Aufzählung der vergangenen Geschichte gegeben.
So now he comes here to Joseph.
Und hier kommt er in diese Aufzählung zu Josef.
And then verse 15.
Vers 15.
So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over into Schechem and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Schechem. Okay, so what is wrong with verse 16?
So, was stimmt nicht mit Vers 16?
Yes, it was not Abraham who bought this field here,
Es war
right?
nicht Abraham, der diesen Feld gekauft hat.
Because who bought the field of Emor, the father of Schechem?
Denn wer hat den Feld von Hamor, der Vater von Schechem, gekauft?
I'll just go up again to Genesis chapter 33 under the heading Jacob in Schechem.
Geht wieder hinauf und zu 1. Mose 33.
Is it not just the same plot that he had to rebuy?
No, let's just go to verse 19.
Und Vers 19.
No, it's not the same place. It says, and he bought a parcel of a field. Let's just begin in verse 18 to see about whom it's speaking here. Okay.
Fangen wir in Vers 18 an.
And Jacob came to Shechem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. And he bought a parcel of a field, where he had spread his tent, at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. So who bought this field?
So, wer hat diesen Feld gekauft?
Jacob. Right?
Jakob.
He bought it from Hamor, Shechem's father.
Er
Right?
hat es von Hamor, dem Vater von Schechem, gekauft.
Also when you just go up again to this quote by Sister White we read,
Er geht weiter hinauf zu diesem Zitat von Ellen White, die wir gelesen haben.
the second paragraph,
Der zweite Absatz,
499.4.
499.4.
says, the place appointed for this solemn service was one already sacred from its association with the history of their fathers. It was here that Abraham raised his first altar to Jehovah in the land of Canaan. Here both Abraham and Jacob had pitched their tents. Here the latter bought the field in which the tribes were to bury the body of Joseph. Right?
Yes.
So who bought this field?
So wer hat den Feld gekauft?
That doesn't make it the point.
No, it was Jacob, right? The latter.
Jakob, der spätere.
Okay. So, and now when we go back to Acts 7,
Kommen wir wieder hinunter, ganz weit, zu Apostelgeschichte 7
and then verse 16.
und
Okay.
Vers 16.
So it says here were carried over into Schechem and laid the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Emar, the father of Schechem. Okay, so they say it was Abraham, but it was clearly Jacob who did this.
Sie
Okay,
sagen, es war Abraham, aber es war klar Jakob, der das tat.
okay, so let's look at now Abraham's field that he bought.
So, lasst uns jetzt Abrahams Feld anschauen, die er erkaufte.
Okay, so let's go to Genesis chapter 49 first,
Gehen wir zu 1. Mose 49 zuerst,
verse 28 to 32.
Vers 28 bis 32.
It says, this is now when Jacob died.
Das ist, wenn Jakob gestorben ist.
All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is it, that their father spake unto them and blessed them. Every one according to his blessing he blessed them. And he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. Now, so the field that Abraham bought was in Mamre and was bought by Ephron the Hittite, right?
Also der Feld, der Abraham gekauft hatte, war in Mamre und war gekauft von Ephron, der Hethiter.
And Jacob said, bury me there, okay?
Und Jakob sagte, begrabe mich da.
Now verse 31.
Vers 31.
It says, there they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and of the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. Okay, so who all was buried in this field?
So, wer war alle in diesem Feld begraben?
Abraham, his wife, Isaac, Rebecca, his wife, and Leah.
Yes. And it's interesting that it's Leah who's buried there.
Es ist interessant, dass es Lea ist, die da begraben ist.
Jacob didn't love
Yeah. Jacob didn't love her, he only loved Rachel, right?
Und die er nicht geliebt hat, sondern nur Rachel.
But she's not in there, but Leah's in there.
Sie ist aber nicht da drin, sondern Lea.
Okay, and obviously this field is just an illustration of this promised land, right?
Und dieses Feld ist nur eine Darstellung von diesem verheißenen Land.
That's this earnest of this promised land. Okay,
Diese Anzahlung auf die verheißene Land.
and therefore Jacob wanted to be buried in there.
Und deswegen wollte Jakob darin begraben werden.
So let's go now to this story where Abraham actually buys it in Genesis 23.
So gehen wir zu der Geschichte, wo Abraham diesen Feld kauft. Das ist in 1. Mose 23.
And it says, and Sarah was 127 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath-Arba. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and wept to weep over her, for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me Ephron, the son of Zoar. So this is now this Ephron where he bought the field from.
Das ist dieser Ephron, von dem er den Feld erkauft hat.
The Hittite.
Der Hethiter.
Because it says here in verse 10,
In Vers 10 es sagt,
And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abram in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, and so forth. Right? And then eventually Abram buys this field for 400 shekels.
und dann
Okay?
letztendlich kaufte Abraham diesen Feld für 400 Schekel.
Let's go to verse 16.
Vers 16.
See this. It says, And Abram hearkened unto Ephron, and Abram weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with a merchant. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abram for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of this city. Okay, now, so this now became officially Abram's possession in the promised land, right?
Also dies ist offiziell Abrahams Besitz in das verheißene Land geworden.
But it was only this earnest, let's say, of the whole land, right?
Es war nur diese Anzahlung sozusagen von das gesamte Land.
And now verse 19 and 20.
Das ist die Verse 19 und 20.
And after this Abram buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abram for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. Okay, so now I want to at least share my understanding why the Bible said it was Abram who bought it. Okay.
Jetzt möchte ich mein Verständnis mitteilen, warum die Bibel sagt, dass es Abraham war, der diesen Feld gekauft hat.
This, what I mean, this field at Schechem, which actually Jacob bought. Okay.
Was ich meine, ist diese Feld zu Schechem, die Jakob
You've got
erkauft hat.
parallel of it, Jeremiah.
Yes, we come to this now. Jeremiah 32, right?
Also Jeremia 32.
So let's begin in Jeremiah 32, verse 6.
Jeremia 32, Vers 6 fangen wir an.
And I think this buying of the field, this has obviously some deep connotation. Okay.
Ich glaube, dass dieser Erkaufen des Feldes hat natürlich eine tiefe
Yeah, it's
Bedeutung.
in the parable, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
It's where the pearl is hidden
Exactly.
in the field.
Das ist da, wo der Perle in das Feld begraben ist.
And let's read now here verse 6.
Das Vers 6 lesen.
It says, And Jeremiah said, The word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Behold. So what came to him?
Was kam zu ihm?
The word of the Lord, right?
Wort des Herrn.
Okay. And then it says here in verse 7,
Dann in Vers 7 sagt es,
Behold, Hananiel, the son of Schechem, thine uncle shall come unto thee, saying, Buy thee my field that is in Anathoth, for the right of redemption is thine to buy it. So he is also to buy this field. Okay.
soll auch diesen Feld kaufen.
So Hananiel, mine uncle's son, came to me in the court of the prison according to the word of the Lord, and said to me, Buy my field, I pray thee, that is in Anathoth, which is in the country of Benjamin. For the right of inheritance is thine, and the redemption is thine. Buy it for thyself. Then I knew that this was the word of the Lord. So what did Jeremiah know?
So was wusste Jeremia jetzt?
It was the word of the
Das
Lord.
war das
Okay.
Wort des Herrn.
Okay. Just keep in mind this expression.
Halte im Sinne dieser Ausdrucksweise.
Then verse 9.
Vers 9 jetzt.
And I bought the field of Hananiel, my uncle's son, that was in Anathoth, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver. And I subscribed the evidence and sealed it, and took witness, and weighed him the money in the balances. So I took the evidence of the purchase, both that which was sealed according to the law and custom, and that which was open. And I gave the evidence of the purchase unto Baruch, the son of Neriah, the son of Maaseiah, in the sight of Hananiel, my uncle's son, in the presence of the witnesses that subscribed the book of the purchase before all the Jews that sat in the court of the prison. Now, so this buying of the land was always made in the presence of witnesses, right?
Dieses Erkaufen des Landes wurde immer in der Gegenwart von Zeugen durchführt.
Yes. Abraham also bought it in the presence of witnesses. Yes.
Abraham hat es auch in der Gegenwart von Zeugen gekauft.
Okay, and who will be our witnesses?
Und wer wird unsere Zeugen werden?
Because we have to buy the field, right?
Und wir müssen das Feld kaufen.
Yes. How do we buy it?
Wie erkaufen wir es?
Yeah, selling all, right?
Indem dass wir alles verkaufen.
Okay.
And the story of Ruth was 10.
Yeah, 10 elders in the gate. Yeah.
In der Geschichte von Ruth gab es 10 Ältesten, die im Torensatz dieses bezeugt haben.
And they witness it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know, but I don't want to speculate now, but I mean, the witnesses are usually the angels, right?
Also ich möchte nicht spekulieren, aber die Zeugen sind die Engel.
So in this sense, they witness, they write down, you bought it, okay?
Also in dem Sinne, sie schreiben es nieder, dass du es erkauft hast.
Okay, so Matthew 27,
Matthäus
now we
27.
come to this point, okay?
Wenn wir zu diesem Punkt kommen,
Beginning in verse 3,
fangen wir in Vers 3 an.
it's now the story of Judas.
Das ist die Geschichte von Judas.
It says, Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. How many pieces of silver?
So, wie viele Silberstücke?
30. Right?
30.
Saying, I've sinned in that I've betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple, and departed and went and hanged himself. So he cast these 30 pieces in the temple. Right?
Er warf diese 30 Silberstücke ins Tempel hinein.
Yeah, in the potter's house. Okay, verse 6.
Vers 6.
And the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, It is not lawful to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. So what do they do with this money?
Was tun sie mit seinem Geld?
They buy also a field,
Sie
okay?
kaufen auch ein Feld.
Also to bury people in there, okay?
Auch um Leuten darin zu
Yeah,
begraben.
but strangers, okay?
Aber hier Fremden.
Okay, so verse 8.
Vers 8.
Wherefore that field was called the field of blood unto this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying. So it was fulfilled by what prophet said what?
So, es wurde erfüllt durch welche Propheten?
Ja.
Was sagt er?
It was not Anathoth.
Yes. So it says here it was fulfilled what Jeremiah says, okay?
Es sagt hier, es wurde erfüllt, was Jeremia sagt.
But let's see. It says here, then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord appointed me.
But
Jeremiah never said this, right?
So Jeremia hat das,
Exactly.
Jeremia hat das nicht gesagt.
So the Bible's showing you that you're just to bring them all together.
Exactly. Yes.
So die Bibel zeigt uns, dass man all diese Felder zusammenbringen muss.
So Matthew was obviously not drunk, okay, when he wrote this, okay?
Matthäus war natürlich nicht betrunken, wenn er dies gesagt hat.
But he was filled with the Holy Ghost and he understood line upon line, okay?
Sondern er war voll des Heiligen Geistes und er verstand Linie auf Linie.
And he wanted to join these two stories for us to understand, okay?
Und er wollte diese zwei Geschichten zusammenbringen für uns, dass wir sie verstehen.
So he wanted to join the story of Jeremiah buying this field and what Zechariah says here in Zechariah 11, okay?
Er wollte die Geschichte von Jeremia, was er sagte über diesen Feld, und auch die Geschichte von hier in Zechariah 11 zusammenbringen.
It's a nice point to prove line upon line.
Yes.
Es ist wieder ein schönes Punkt, dass man Linie auf Linie beweisen kann.
Yes. And also, so let's just go to Zechariah 11 to see that what we read here in Matthew 24 is actually speaking or was taken here from Zechariah 11.
So, gehen wir zu Zechariah 11, damit wir sehen können, dass das, was in Matthäus 27 geschrieben worden ist, war von Zechariah 11 entnommen.
But also,
Aber auch
in Zechariah 11 we'll see how it links to Jeremiah 8, okay?
werden wir sehen in Zechariah 11, wie es zu Jeremia 8,
Not Jeremiah, 32, sorry.
Jeremia 32 verbindet.
Okay, let me just finish the point and then you can make your point, Mark. Or is it?
It's in
No.
relation to this. Sure, it's I'm just looking for it. Just read you.
Okay. So it says, in a,
Yeah, verse 13.
Ah,
Verse 13. Because it says cast it to the potter.
where does it say?
Verse 13.
Where you are?
In Zechariah.
Ah, okay, we
It's in
come
the
this.
notes.
Yeah, you just had 11 and 12 in the notes.
No, it's on the next page.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, forgive me.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
totally missed that.
So let's begin in Zechariah 11 verse 11.
So Zechariah 11 und Vers 11.
It says, And it was broken in that day. So the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew it was the word of the Lord. So where did we just read this?
So wo haben wir diese Ausdrucksweise bereits gelesen?
Jeremiah, right?
Jeremia,
When he bought the field.
Also-
Yeah.
den Feld gekauft hat.
So it links now Zechariah 11 with Jeremiah 32, right?
Das verbindet Sacharja 11 mit Jeremia 32.
Okay, so Jeremiah illustrates these lost sheep that now have to sell all in order to buy the field. Okay?
Jeremia stellt diese verlorenen Schafen dar, die alles verkaufen muss, um diesen Feld erkaufen zu können.
And these poor of the flock here.
Diese Armen der Herde, die hier in Sacharja 11 erwähnt sind.
Does Christ not do the same thing? Because he takes this poor widow selling all and he parallels it with selling all to buy the field. He says that she sold out everything that she had.
Yes.
And then he says to buy the field, you've got to sell all that you
Have, yeah.
have. Yes.
Yes.
Christus hat das auch, indem diese Witwe, die diese 2 Groschen eintat, hat er gesagt, dass sie alles verkauft hat.
So she's a poor widow.
Sie ist eine arme Witwe,
Ja.
dass sie alles gegeben hat. Und das sagt er dann auch in das Gleichnis, dass man alles verkaufen muss, um den Feld zu erwerben.
Yes, because it's here the poor of the flock.
Und es sagt hier, dass es den Armen der Herde ist, also in dem Sinne diese arme Witwe.
So you see how all these stories they join together, right?
Hier können wir sehen, wie all diese Geschichten zusammenkommen.
And now in verse 12 it says,
Jetzt in Vers 12 sagt es,
And I said unto them, If ye think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver. And the Lord said unto me, Cast it unto the potter, a goodly price that I was priced at of them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and cast them to the potter in the house of the Lord. This is what Judas did, right?
das ist das, was Judas tat.
Okay, but Judas did it obviously unrighteously.
Aber Judas hat das natürlich ungerechterweise getan.
Yeah, because he wanted to buy Christ, but for him it was too late, right?
Er wollte Christus erkaufen, aber für ihn war es zu spät.
Okay, so and therefore we can see now how Matthew 24 links Zechariah 11 and Jeremiah 32 together, right?
You mean Matthew 27?
27. Thank you.
So, wir können sehen, wie Matthäus 27, Sacharja 11 und Jeremia 32 zusammenbringt.
Okay, and I think the same is what Stephen does in Acts chapter 7 with the field.
Und ich
Okay.
glaube, dasselbe ist das, was Stephanus tat in Apostelgeschichte 7 mit der Feld.
So he just wants to link the field that Abraham bought with the field that Jacob bought.
Er
Okay.
möchte nur verbinden, das Feld, die Jakob kaufte, mit das Feld, die Abraham erkauft hat.
Abraham bought his in Mamre, but Jacob in Schechem.
So,
Okay.
Abraham hat sein Feld in Mamre gekauft, Jakob seins in Schechem.
But the Bible wants to show us it's the same field.
Und
Okay.
die Bibel möchte uns zeigen, es ist eben dasselbe Feld.
And so these 6 people, Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac and their wives, they were in the field of Abraham.
So diese 6 Menschen, also Abraham und Jakob und Isaac und seine Frauen, die waren in diesem Feld zu Mamre begraben.
But Jacob, when he came out of Egypt, he was in this field, right, in
Was?
Schechem. Okay.
Jakob, als er aus Ägypten herauskam, er war in dem Feld zu Schechem begraben.
But it's the same illustration line upon line. Okay, it's this,
Linie auf Linie, es ist derselbe Darstellung, derselbe Feld.
okay. And it's all an illustration that you now, by faith, entered into this field, into this promised land. Okay.
Und es sind alle eine Darstellung, dass du durch Glaube in diesen Feld, in diesen verheißenen Land hineingekommen bist.
And what did Sister White see in the chasm vision?
Und was hat Ellen White in diesen Kluftvisionen gesehen?
On the other side of the chasm.
Auf der anderen Seite der Kluft.
Beautiful.
And there's beautiful fields.
Das wunderschöne Feld.
Yes. So this is what he wants us to buy also.
Und das
Okay.
ist es, was er möchte, dass wir auch kaufen.
And they all bought it or were buried in there by faith. Okay.
Sie haben es alle erkauft oder wurden darin begraben durch Glaube.
Because they said, okay, carry me there. We will surely get there one day. Okay.
Also, trage mich dahin, wir werden sicherlich gewiss eines Tages dahin kommen.
Okay. So therefore, all these illustrations of exercising faith, like Jeremiah, right? He bought this field, even though the destruction of the city was imminent.
Das sind all diese Darstellungen von Glaube. Er hat Jeremia zum Beispiel, hat diesen Feld gekauft, obwohl Jerusalem stand gerade vor sicherer Zerstörung.
Okay, but it also proves to us
Aber es beweist für uns,
you will only be able to buy the field if you understand line upon line.
du wirst nur imstande sein, der Feld zu kaufen, wenn du Linie auf Linie verstehst.
Okay, because you have two stories here with a field showing us line upon line. Okay.
Und wir haben zwei Geschichten hier mit einem Feld, die Linie auf Linie gezeigt sind.
Okay, so clearly shows us the only way to enter heaven is understanding line upon line.
Das zeigt uns ganz klar, der einzige Weg ins Himmel hineinzukommen, ist durch das Verständnis von Linie auf Linie.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so then we can leave this for tonight.
Dann können wir diese Geschichte jetzt für heute Abend lassen.
And yeah, by God's grace, the Lord will unfold further things on this.
So Gott möchte, wird er weitere Sachen uns da entfalten.
Then let us close with prayer.
Und lasst uns jetzt mit Gebet Schluss machen.